Welcome to the Traders Help Desk online video collection. In this video, I am going to go over the tools that I always have on my chart that are offered by Traders Help Desk. The first one that you see is the Traders Help Desk Index Meter. This is measuring the trend of multiple indices on a higher time frame. As you can see, the purple is the Russell, the EMD is light blue, the NASDAQ is yellow, and the ES is red. So at the market opening, we see that we're getting what we call a zero line reject on the higher time frame. So we want to wait at least 5 to 10 minutes after the market opening to see what direction the indices are actually going to go into. Now, as you can see here, we have a red trend. We have just made an isolated high, and the price bar actually closed in our direction. In addition to that, we just had this upside down V on the ADX. That's normally a good indication that buyers are unable to take control of the market. In this case, we could actually enter this position at 649.3, and we have two ways of trading this. We can either scalp this, and that means I'm going to use the clippers to just clip profits out of the market, and I'm going to insert the clipper on the bar that generated the entry, which was this bar, and as you can see, we took all three clipper levels. Now, because we took all three clipper levels on that one, we could actually also go back in here and actually got another 2 clipper levels. So that's 5 clippers total that we got on the contracts. Now I'm going to status off the clipper for a moment, and I'm going to show you the inputs on the trend. And I do that by right-clicking on the price bars and go to Format Trend. You can see that we have the inputs on the trend are length, which is set to 9, ATR sensitivity, and this is set to 1.25. We have display bar color. This is either a true or false input, and then we can choose the up and down colors on that indicator. The inputs on the trend SR. Again, I'm just right-clicking on my chart and left-clicking on Trend SR. And you can see we have a left strength, and this is set to any number. I use 3. We have options to choose the color for the highs and the lows, and we also have the width of the dot, and I have mine set to 2. Very minimal inputs there. On the RSI by THD, we also have a moving average length. We have the ATR length, which is the same as the THD trend. We have the ATR sensitivity. Again, this is set to the same as the trend. We have the RSI series. We can use close, open, high, low, or median price. We default this to close. We then have the RSI length. This should be set to 14. The smoothing length is set to 8. The Rsi cutoff line is where it determines the overbought and oversold areas. We set that to 50. The color scheme, number 2 uses the cyan and red that you see me use in the trading room. If you set that to 1, it will use a green and red color scheme. We then have the THD ADX, and a lot of the same inputs: ADX length, DMI length, magenta threshold, trend threshold. The color scheme, again, you can set this to 1 to use green and red, or 2 to use blue and red. And then we also have the ATR length and sensitivity built into the indicator as well. Anytime you are seeing the green lines on the RSI or ADX, it is showing you there's convergence. That means that everything is clicking into place in this strong downtrend. Now, once you get the red dotted lines on the ADX is very quick to pick up divergence. So you want to look up and see if that divergence is actually confirmed on the RSI. Once it is confirmed on the RSI, I go ahead and take profits. In addition to the index meter, we also have a currency meter, and that allows me to identify which currencies are actually moving. This is only used on the currency futures. And as you can see, this white line has a very, very steep downturn to it. That is the Canadian dollar, which is not normally one that I would trade. But as you can see, you have a very steep line coming down on it. Again, you have a zero line reject right here, and this is where the RSI went below the zero line, came above the zero line, and now is starting back downwards. And you can see that here. When you look over to the currency meter, you can see that the Canadian is now starting to move downwards. You can enter a trade here and place your clipper on. You could also have entered here. There was another entry here. Again, all I'm looking for are the yellow dots with a close in my direction. Since I'm trying to take a short, that means that the trend or the price bar actually closed down. You can see that it did it here. It again did it here. Now, on the ADX, you see that you have divergence measured here. The first thing I do when I see a divergence on my ADX is I look up to the RSI to see if it has been confirmed. Normally that will be confirmed within 2 bars. It was not confirmed. Therefore, if you were trying to trend trade this, you can actually stay with your trend. Again, you have divergence here. Again, not supported by the RSI. In fact, the RSI is starting to move back down. So that tells me I could probably stay with the trade for a little bit more money. At this point, you see that the ADX and the RSI is confirming that all of the prices moving as it should be in a downtrend. This means it is making lower lows and lower highs. So again, this is giving you confirmation, hey, maybe you can get some more out of this trade. At this point, you also have convergence again telling you you might get a little bit more out of it. At this point, you see that you have divergence on the ADX. Again, you should actually get that divergence confirmed on the RSI within a couple of bars. It was confirmed at the opening of this bar, and this is telling you, okay, maybe this is a little bit oversold and I need to exit my position. In addition to that, if you look over to your currency meter, you can also see that on the higher time frame, you are now starting to turn. So if you had been in this trade, that was your definitive, okay, I am out now signal. Now, if you were using the clipper, which I do use because I like to scalp, you went through a complete set of clippers here. You could have re-entered your trade here and went and took another 3 levels. If you were trend trading this, you could have just stayed with it for the duration of the trend or until you saw the divergence, in which we saw here. The other indicator that I use a lot is called the bar range indicator for radar screen, and this tells me which symbol is going to give me the maximum profit that I can get. And as you can see, the euro is number 1 in my list. The ES has consistently been at number 10 since February of this year. Now, the way that this works, and let me show you the inputs on this. We have length, which is set to 1, and then we have length 2, which is set to 254. Because on average I want to take 10% out of the market, I set this to a longer time frame. This is 1 trading year, and it's measuring the average movement for 1 year on a particular symbol. We then have the profit target percentage. This is the amount that I want to try to capture out of the market for scalping. We also have a number of contracts or shares. This is set to 1 since I am trading the currency futures. I can set that to 3, 4, 5, whatever numerical input I want to put in. And then the profit target amount. This is how much I really want to be able to capture anytime I go into the market. As you can see, it uses that to highlight the symbols that meet that criteria. So at a glance, I know that the euro would be the first one I would want to trade. It will give me on average, the 10% average is $175 per contract. That's 14 ticks. That stop value would be 87.50 or 7 ticks. The next one that I would want to consider would be the Japanese yen. I could take $150 out of that market, or 12 points, $75 as a stop, and 6 points as a stop. Again, on the Russell, you're looking to capture a 1.5 or 8 ticks as a stop. In addition to that, you also, if you're trading new markets, this is really valuable. You do get tick value, which tells me that if I wanted to try to trade the currency, it would be $12.50 on the euro, or perhaps on the British pound, $6.25. In addition to the other indicators that I typically have on my chart, I also have one chart that typically has the THD pivot points on it. As you can see, this morning we are now below the S2 line. That tells me this is not an area that I want to be entering shorts on. And again, I'm expecting at least a pullback, probably to S1, even potentially to the pivot area, which is about 97.20 on the Canadian. We can also see this on any of the other symbols that we trade. For example, on the Russell, you can see right now we have pulled back above the pivot area, and just looking at this chart, you can see that there is a convergence, which means that the price is doing exactly what we would anticipate it would do in an uptrend. That means it's making higher lows and higher highs. Now, just off of this chart, you can also go back and put in the clipper. Again, we're looking for a low risk entry, and you have almost taken clipper 2 on your contract. You have already taken profits on clipper 1. You have so far missed clipper 2 by 4 ticks. And at the moment it is pulling back. Now the free money trade tells us it's probably going to go back and test that high area, but it has not done so yet.